So it's more scientific to think that God would create life, a previous mind creating the new ones like us, than it is to think that some lightning hit water and all of a sudden chemicals turned into people.
So let me get this straight. You do an entire TikTok here, hoping to refute the idea that Christians are science deniers, but yet the examples that you give, especially this one, do nothing but prove that Christians, or well, rather, your particular brand of Christian, is a science denier. Whoa, Adam Rich is dense as fuck. Well, heathens, if y'all want to fuck around and find out how bad this apologetic train wreck gets, then please stay tuned. What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today we're looking at TikToker Adam Rich, and he is gonna be trying to show us how Christians are not really science deniers. Well, specifically, he, as a Christian, is not a science denier. Lo and behold, he is gonna do the exact opposite in this video and only reinforce the idea that he is in fact denying the science on a lot of topics. Oh man, I cannot wait for this shit show. I need to get me a beer.
Drink up, motherfucker. It's not getting any better.
Today's beer is Vapor Trail from Rocket Republic, brewed right here in North Alabama. All right, let's get this shit show started.
Listen, as a Christian, one of my absolute favorite things, and listen, if you're a Christian, please drop it in the comments below if you feel the exact same way, because I can't wait to hear how other people feel, because this one always excites me.
Well, just to start out here, I want to say that I don't think that all Christians are science deniers, what he's calling science deniers. I feel like the science denying Christians are a very specific group. Normally they're populated by creationists, and with creationism comes a lot of science denying, but you also have some in the evangelical group that also deny a lot of science, just on different topics. While they may not be creationists, they could be dipshits on any number of other topics that I'm sure Adam Rich is going to enlighten us about today. So, as a broad brush or generalized statement, are Christians science deniers? Not all of them. There are plenty of real scientists that are also Christians, and they don't deny the science on mostly everything. There is a section of the Christian community that does affirm science and what science has to offer and its findings, while also remaining faithful to their religion. I feel like you got to do a lot of cherry picking for that particular position, but there are Christians that do it. So before we even start out this video, I just want to say that I don't monolithically paint the Christian community as being science denying, and I really don't think that anybody should. I think that you should make relative arguments and claims against relevant groups. So for creationists or intelligent design proponents and evangelicals, I think that science denier could be a fine label to put on them, but don't be mistaken that this is like all of Christianity. It's not.
I get called a science denier on a regular basis, and here's what's always ironic about that. It comes from two groups of people, atheists / anti-theists. I never like to lump the atheists in with the anti-theists because they're two totally different types of people. An atheist just doesn't believe in God, but if they've seen evidence or believable, things that would make them believe in God, they're open-minded. They would change their ideas. They would accept God if they've seen evidence to support it.
I can pretty much agree with this as far as atheists go, although I do classify myself as an anti-theist as well. But that's not because I hate religious people or I hate God or anything like that. I find that religion seems to be a net negative on society, and religion, being that it doesn't comport with reality, has the potential to cause a lot of harm. And so because of that potential harm that it can cause and how grave this harm can be, I'm an anti-theist. But I wonder how he's going to define anti-theist.
He's an asshole.
A lot of religious people seem to have different ideas of what an anti-theist is. Mostly they just paint them as assholes that hates religious people or hates God or something like that. But while there may be some atheists out there that are also anti-theists that are assholes in that particular respect, that again does not monolithically describe all of anti-theists out there.
Anti-theists just want to insult people that believe in God. They're silly.
No. that's not what anti-theist means, and it's definitely not the demeanor of a lot of anti-theists that I know. We're not really seeking to just insult religious people, although I know that a good part of my bit is to be, I guess, a little bit insulting to the religious ideas, the religious idea of, praying to Jesus and making sure everything that you do in your life is pleasing him and everything like that. You get where I'm going with that. And, the whole relationship between God and man in the Bible, at least how it's portrayed. I definitely criticize and insult those ideas, but I also think that ideas should definitely be insulted. They should be questioned. They should be made fun of if you find them to be worthy of being ridiculed in that way. And, I'm perfectly fine with atheism being ridiculed. Otherwise, how else would I have a channel?
But here's the fun part about it. Ignore them because they don't they matter as people, technically. But they do matter. But here's the thing. We know who wins in the end. So who cares what they have to say about you right now? Let them think you're crazy. But anyway.
So for the most part, Christians are not going to care what any atheist or anti-theist has to say. They're obviously not going to be swayed by people making fun of them or anything like that. So when I first started my channel, I kind of progressed in that direction a little bit, but then I changed course, and I'm not trying to insult the person anymore or doing any of these ad hominem type of attacks. I try to criticize thoughts and ideas rather than the person. Although Adam Rich is a dipshit, that's because of the ideas that he spouts. But also, I like how he says, let them make fun of you. Because we all know what happens in the end. And apparently he's so sure about his current belief set that he could just shrug off people that are refuting him or debunking him or saying anything about his arguments or anything like that, which I think he was talking about, personal attacks at that point.
Come on, then. All right, we'll call it a draw.
But regardless of that, I love how sure he is about his belief. It'd be a shame if somebody actually tested those beliefs of yours there, Adam.
These people say that you're a science denier if you're a Christian, which is absolutely absurd because most of the stuff they believe is not science. But
Oh, okay. Well, I would be happy to know exactly what it is that an atheist believes that denies science. Please go ahead and enlighten me. Very specifically, atheist beliefs. As far as I'm concerned, atheist, as far as like my role as an atheist or labeling me as an atheist, I don't have a belief. Like I don't believe that God doesn't exist. An atheist, or at least the kind of atheist that I am, I just don't believe, which is what he's already stated in this video. So I don't see how you can say that things that atheists believe are non-scientific when you've already acknowledged that we just don't believe in your particular claim. That doesn't sound like a belief. It sounds like the absence of a belief in a God. You could say that. I have a non-belief maybe, but it's definitely not a belief. You could say that I have a belief that you're wrong as far as the God question goes. I mean, I guess you could say that. I don't see how that's unscientific because it's really just an opinion of mine.
Also, the other group of people that says it is Democrats. This is the party of science, people. This is the same party that thinks that a transgender boy is actually a girl and a transgender girl is actually a boy just because inside their head they think that they are. And this is not at all to make fun of, this is not at all a bash on transgender people. It's a bash about the people that claim that they're the party of science. They're not.
So I don't know how Democrats have claimed to be the party of science. I will say that the Democrat Party seems to be a lot more scientifically based and at least more scientifically knowledgeable when compared to most Republicans out there. So, I mean, I guess I'm fine with Democrats like leaning in the way of science or what science tells them rather than what their God book tells them, which is pretty much what the Republican Party is doing right now.
I'm a conservative, which means I believe in three things: God, guns, and that Jews should stick to comedy.
So I guess could be fine with that. But then there's the dig at the transgender people, the LGBTQ community. The way that you describe transgender people just shows how unscientific you are about this entire topic. So to claim that transgender people just sort of make up in their mind that they're not in the right kind of body is the most unscientific way to describe the transgender community. So here is point number one, and you affirming that you are in fact a science denier.
So, and you never look at like a lion out in the wild and say, hey, look at that male lion. Well, and then somebody goes, oh, don't call them a male lion. You have no idea what they identify as. That would not be science. So
no, that would not be science, mainly because you're not really doing science with that. You're just trying to present what you think is an analogous situation when it really isn't. See, other animals in the animal kingdom aren't really concerned with all of this. It's because we have a complex central nervous system that we have come to sort of struggle with these issues. And that's due to the complexity of our brains and the fact that everyone's brains don't operate in the exact same way as everybody else's brains. You see, that's what you get when something develops naturally, is a lot of variation. And considering this, we should definitely expect there to be some transgender individuals in any given society. But yeah, atheists or Democrats or anti-theists, we're the science deniers here. Oh yeah.
anyway, then they also say that abortion's not murder. Well, what exactly are you aborting? A clump of cells? A feed? If you left that clump of cells alone, what would it become? If you did nothing at all, but just exist, what would happen? Oh, it would turn into a human life.
You know, I kind of like how he shoots himself in the foot in this little part. Maybe it's just, he's thinking off of the fly and he's, doing all of this in one take, so he's not really realizing it. But at the beginning, he's chastising Democrats, atheists, anti-theists maybe, for saying that, a blastocyst or fetus or any other point in the gestation period is not a human life. But then he says, if you leave those clump of cells alone, it turns into a human life.
Ooh, self-burn. Those are rare.
I'm getting mixed signals from this guy, and it's a little frustrating. But still, we're not saying that it's not a human life or not, human cells or that those cells aren't living. What we're saying is that it's not a person, and it's really up to the woman using her own bodily autonomy to determine whether or not she wants to continue with that pregnancy, because that's her choice. And if you want to know why we don't consider abortion to be murder, it's because we know how fucking words work. You see, murder is an illegal killing of another person. Well, a fetus is not a person yet. And when you could consider the transition between fetus and person, most of the time, abortions are not done at that point. At that point of viability where that fetus can be considered a person, abortions usually don't happen unless there's a medical emergency. And in cases where an elective abortion happens after that point, it's usually due to the fact that the state has restricted access to abortion services as well as sex education services and other women's healthcare services. And they've had to wait so long in order to get to a clinic because they couldn't afford to get there beforehand. So really, Christians or Republicans, conservatives are just shooting themselves in the foot when they restrict abortion access, because what you're doing is you're just stopping safe abortions from happening, and you're prolonging the amount of time between when a person finds out they're pregnant and when they can get an abortion. So really, this is just a problem of their own making. If they should be angry with anybody, they should be angry with themselves. But yet again, this is another point where he is rejecting the science. Because the science clearly says that while a human life, starts way before viability, that doesn't mean that the life has an inherent right to life. And at the point of viability, most of the time, if a woman has gotten to that point, they generally want to have that child. So no, abortion is not murder, because a fetus is not a person, and it wouldn't be killing a person. Again, this is just how words work.
That's exactly, and as a matter of fact, to claim that a fetus is not a human life or whatever, that is absurd. That is the earliest stage of a human life. And when you're aborting it out of your body, and they'll say all the time, my body, my choice. Listen, I don't care what you do with your body. What I care about is what you do with the body that's inside of your body. You know, the one that deserves the chance at life the same as you got. I just don't want you to kill them before they ever get a chance to experience this wonderful thing that we call life. Maybe their life sucks. Maybe it's awesome. You don't get to decide that. You're not God.
Well, technically, nobody's God because that fuck probably doesn't exist. But still, you can't say, I don't care what you do with your body, but then also say that you do care what they do with their body. Because whether he likes it or not, that woman is still in charge of her body, regardless of whether or not there's a fetus inside. And that fetus is part of her body until that fetus can become viable outside the womb. And yes, a fetus is living human tissue, but that doesn't mean it has an inherent right to life. A woman should be able to choose what happens if she finds herself to be pregnant. This entire issue is not about the life of the infant or anything like that, because as we all know, conservatives really don't give a shit about children. They don't give a shit about what happens to babies, children, or people in general.
Pro-life conservatives are obsessed with the fetus from conception to 9 months. After that, they don't want to know about you. They don't want to hear from you. No nothing. No neonatal care, no daycare, no Head Start, no school lunch, no food stamps, no welfare, no nothing. If you're preborn, you're fine. If you're preschool, you're fucked.
Before they're born, these people are always like, well, you can't abort it. That's a life. You gotta have it. And so now they're making laws that will force women to have a baby. If you don't remember, a 10-year-old girl was told by a judge that she was going to be forced to have a child. Except she got her ass to Indiana where she had an abortion, which was the right call. Because a 10-year-old child should not be having a baby. But people like Adam Rich, they want to force every woman that happens to become pregnant to give birth to a child, while at the same time slut-shaming women that do become pregnant out of wedlock. It's not any of my business to know why somebody became pregnant, only that they should have the ability to choose whether or not to carry that pregnancy to term. Adam thinks that that person should be forced to give birth to a baby that they most likely don't want, if they're wanting an abortion, that is.
And this is another thing. They believe in the whole primordial soup thing. This is where life came from. They have never, ever, ever demonstrated or seen lightning strike a soup and mix in chemicals and make a life. Yet they say that this is the actual theory.
No, this is not what we say is the actual theory. There's actual multiple hypotheses about how life first evolved. You have the RNA world idea as well as several others. Now, the RNA world idea says that RNA developed first, which then developed into DNA, and that's when life first arose. There are several different ways in which life to arise. Now, we have seen in a lab setting, so in a scientific experiment, we have seen amino acids, the building blocks to life, form on their own. And in separate scientific experiments, we've seen them self-organize. Given that everything in nature has happened naturally without the need for God, and we have several stepping stones that show us that life could have developed in an abiogenic manner, that means that life most likely developed without the need of a God. Now again, these are the scientific findings of the scientific community. So him saying, oh, they just believe lightning struck a puddle of stuff, and then boom, humans popped up out of it. It's almost like he's saying this.
Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.
And no, that's not scientific, and it's not what anybody in the scientific community says. So again, he has stated how unscientific his ideas actually are, further proving that he, as an individual, is a science denier.
They believe this stuff. Now, the only thing we've ever actually seen is that a life comes from, wait for it, a previous life, a previous mind being involved. So it's more scientific to think that God would create life, a previous mind creating the new ones like us, than it is to think that some lightning hit water and all of a sudden chemicals turned into people.
Again, that's not what the science says. What science says is that life would have developed slowly over time through chemical reactions that happened that eventually developed into DNA and eventually developed into single-celled organisms, and then it took off off from there. So, I mean, if you really wanted to describe the scientific idea, that's what you would go with, not lightning struck puddles of water and created human beings. That's, again, not what science says. But more to the point, what he's alluding to here is Louis Pasteur and his experiment where he showed that flies come from other flies, and he developed this idea that life comes from life and life doesn't come from dead rotting meat, which was the prevailing idea at the time, which in more scientific terms would be spontaneous generation. If you don't know what that is, that's basically what Christians say happened. That's a Christian idea, spontaneous generation. God wiggled his nose, flicked his dick, and snapped his fingers, and everything was created spontaneously. So what did Louis Pasteur do? Louis Pasteur disproved the idea of spontaneous generation. He did not disprove the idea of abiogenesis, which is the current hypothesis about how life would have developed.
It's not science, people. But if you dare disagree with them, you may be canceled. Stay classy.
Well, your ass hasn't been canceled yet, and you consistently spout off unscientific ideas. You affirm that the global flood happened, you affirm creationism, so you affirm all of these ideas that are definitely unscientific. Also, in the political arena, you have many unscientific ideas from there that deviate from the scientific consensus that is already established, like the fact that a fetus is not a person yet, and that's just how words work. All of these things show that he is indeed an unscientific individual. What I have found with these types of people is that they are eager to tell you how unscientific they are. Every time they say, oh, you're not following the science, I can guarantee you that you probably are, and they are the ones that are denying the real science while clinging on to whatever kind of conservative Christian science that was put out by fucking Ken Ham or something. All in all, I found his video here to be quite unscientific and only prove my point that Adam Rich is an unscientific individual who holds unscientific ideas. And he chooses to retain those unscientific ideas even though he has the entire world's knowledge base at his fingertips. Which leads me to believe that these are things he wants to believe and not things that are true. Well, heathens, I really appreciate you joining me today. If you will, please go down below and leave me a comment. What did you think of Adam Rich's video here? Do you think that any of the topics that he brought up are in fact scientific, like in the way that he describes them, or do you think that his ideas are unscientific like I do? Let me know in the comments down below. And hey, while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.